So the holiday seasons is, of course, as we mentioned, a great time for quality time with family. But for many, the journey to starting or growing a family can take a lot of different ways, from surrogacy to adoption, IVF, or fostering. There are a lot of different pathways that people are creating their families these days. In fact, again, our very own Carolyn just started her own recent journey. So she's going to be telling us about that. But first, I want to remind you guys to like this video and subscribe so you can follow along for any future episodes and get notified for when we go live. But let's talk about starting a family on our own terms. Carolyn, what is your big life update that you have?
So I am very excited that I finally, after years of, kind of deciding if this was the right path for me or something that I wanted to do or not, I decided a couple weeks ago that now was the time to freeze my eggs. So at age 38, I'm single, but I definitely want to have a child in the future. I just knew that this was the right decision for me to really give me the freedom to keep running my business, to keep traveling, to really keep focusing on me and doing all the things that I love without the pressure of like, oh my gosh, I need to get married and have a baby and do all of these things within a certain biological timeline. And so, to be honest, it was for the first kind of few days very emotional. But then once I met with some different doctors and talked to it about with my friends and family and met so many women in LA who have already done this. Now it's kind of just like, it's not even a question.
It's like a whole community.
There's a whole community. Absolutely. But now that I'm in the middle of doing it, and it's something that I don't question whether or not is it the right time, should I do it? It's like, I'm so glad I'm finally doing it, and I can't wait to kind of have it be done and then be able to know, like, freeze frame is there in
freeze
a little
frame, freeze eggs.
Back in a lab, frozen for me to use when I'm ready to start my family.
That's amazing. I feel like making that choice is not only deeply personal, but also sounds very empowering, making that choice for yourself.
Empowering.
Tell me about the process of it. How do you go about this?
Surprisingly, it's fast.
Really?
So yes, it's only like once you obviously find the clinic and the doctor that you're comfortable with, they'll do an ultrasound and they'll kind of see, where you're at and do some blood work to kind of get an understanding of your body and maybe your reserve of eggs, but also like how are your ovaries performing. And they'll basically say, okay, this is our start date. Here's your prescription for about 10 to 12 days. So you'll be on hormones for only 10 to 12 days. You see the doctor every 3 or 4 days for them to check in and see, okay, are the drugs doing what we want them to be doing? Are your ovaries creating follicles? Are they maturing at the same rate? And, this is the date that we're going to do the extraction.
So that's like a whole 10-day process before the extraction?
Yes, it's only 10 to 12 days.
Wow.
And I think I'm on like day 7. I think it's day 7, 6 or 7.
Oh, wow. So in 3 days.
I think I'll be closer to 11, but on Monday is my big day.
How exciting. That's such a beautiful path to starting your own family,
really excited about
family.
it. It's funny how just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was like having a crisis of
freaking out. Coming, not really, but the clock is a ticking.
But this is a really good gift to give yourself this time of year, because it's kind of like freeing for you, isn't it?
Freedom.
Yeah.
It's
Freedom.
freedom.
Like you get to just continue your life and not feel this pressure of this biological clock kind of weighing down on you, saying like you have to do this in this kind of social fashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And speaking of family,
if she does have to do IVF, which I hope she doesn't, but if you do have to, you're actually cutting down the time in half, because you have to go through this process anyway. And then if you do want to do IVF when she wants to have a child, if she's having trouble doing that, she's already that many months, that many eggs, that much closer to baby.
That much closer. That's amazing. Yeah. And speaking of, like having kids on your own terms, Cammie, don't you have a bit of an untraditional family setup as well?
I do. I had 2 biological children, but when you do that, they usually come home with 2 other kids. So I just opened my home to them because they didn't have family of their own. And sometimes my kids kept saying to me, Mom, we want you to have another kid. And I kept saying, I cannot do that, baby. I'm done. And they would compare themselves to their other friends and their families. Like, Ann can do it. Well, Ann's crazy. I can't do it. I cannot. But I kept jokingly saying to them all these years, we'll pick one up along the way. We'll pick one up. Promise, I promise. And you did. By the time they ended up in high school, they brought one home. And then college, they brought another home. So we did pick one up along the way, just like you pick up a dog or a cat, not to be the same way, but they've been with me the last 6 or so years now, and I love them. And I couldn't imagine my life without these extra bonus children. So yeah, it wasn't planned, but I did speak it into fruition, so I guess I did.
You did, and you're also so maternal that you're clearly going to be a mother to anybody, and even if it's not traditional adoption or fostering.
Yes, kids too.
I know. I was like, she's got that there too.
How many we're gonna have, girl?
Yes, I know. And it's funny because I'm actually on the side of on all my social media platforms. I'm very outspoken of being child free. That I do not want to be a mother.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Oh, I consider it like a job that is out of my wheelhouse. Like I'm a baby that I'm still trying to take care of, and so it's interesting hearing about this because I'm 31 years old, and a lot of people that I know are starting to think about freezing their eggs or any type of possibilities. That for me, I definitely go the route of I am so sure that I don't want it that if that becomes a possibility, adoption would be the choice for me, you know, something along that future. But then with Rain, you also had your own unique pathway to motherhood. Tell us about that.
Yes, I did IVF after 5 years of trying with my husband. It just wasn't working. I hit 40. And pretty much I went to a great fertility doctor, and he was like, okay, do you want to, it's pretty much, if you want to have a child, it's kind of like going to New York. Do you want to take a train? Do you want to take a jet? Do you want to take a private jet? Or do you want to take, commercial class? I was like, let me just get the jet, and I want to go there fast because, again, your time clock is ticking, so I didn't want to spend a year or another year, trying to have a kid, and then all of a sudden I'm, trying to be like Janet Jackson at 50 having one. So I did IVF, and I went through the freezing egg process, and luckily it worked on the first time. And
wow.
How
rare is that? How rare is
sorry?
That? How rare is that to work on the first time?
I didn't think about if it wasn't because it was so expensive and you have so much writing on it, especially, at 40, you're like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work right now, it's going to be another $15,000 in another couple years. So there was so much writing in it, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, shots in the stomach, this is happening. And I was all over the place at the time. So I remember taking, oh gosh, this is getting TMI, just log off for a second.
Tell it.
Depositories in my car, in parking lots,
gotta do what you gotta do.
I don't think Carolyn's there yet, but when she does, I'm like, I think I blocked out so much of this, but it's all coming back to me.
I need to hear that. Yes. I need to hear all of it.
Yep, but in the end, it resulted in your beautiful son.
Yes.
So it all worked out.
Yes.
And another pathway to parenthood, I actually have a friend who's going to be a surrogate for a family because she is also very adamant about being child-free, but she's also like, I want to experience the pregnancy, birthing a child, but without the responsibility that she can then go in here.
That is a special human.
Yeah, it really
surrogacy is a special human.
I never thought about that. Wait a minute. I need to wrap my head. So she doesn't want to have children, but she said, listen, I want to feel what it's like to be pregnant and to throw up every day and to be fat and to eat a bunch of food.
But it's also
to be able to put your shoes on.
Cammy's clearly been pregnant. It sounds like you didn't enjoy pregnancy.
She's one women who didn't enjoy it. Yes. So I always like to tell not Carolyn too much information until she's there.
Great.
Trust me,
it's fantastic.
Everybody's road is different.
I know, all the... It's like picking flowers all day.
It really is. But everybody's pathway to parenthood and starting families is different, but these are just some of the ways to do it. So we wish you the best of luck on your journey.